Hey, thanks for joining in. It's time for us to get to know more about God. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about the. What's today's title? Let's think about it. This title is going to be about the circle of life in the kingdoms. The circle of life in the two kingdoms. So, right here, I'm going to put a kingdom of darkness right here. Kingdom of darkness, and right here we'll put kingdom of God. Alright, so this is still about Christ placing his church in the middle of darkness. I already said that he places one child of a light, the sons of the kingdom, in the middle of darkness this way, and then there's, this is a church. This is a light, also known as the empaths, the scientific name for what people call people with preternatural abilities that can sense other people's emotions, and they're very sensitive to the spiritual realm. All right, so the kingdom of darkness is just pretty much similar to how the military works. If you've ever been in the military before, you know that you get a higher authority. You get a much higher authority based on the experiences that you've had being in the military. Sometimes it's based on your degree or how long you've been there. So the longer you've been in the military, the higher your authority will be in the military system. So, and that's the same thing with the kingdom of darkness. The higher the level of abuse one has experienced in this kingdom, the higher the level of abuse. And abuse could be anything. We're going to talk about that later, and I'll break abuse into a whole lot of different things, because abuse is pretty much, it could be anything. It could be verbal, it could be sexual, it could be physical, it could be just natural disasters is abuse, because it's under the kingdom of devil, and a lot of things happen. A lot of a lot of his angels, the bad angels, are always wanting to cause disasters in the realm, and we see those disasters as the natural things that happen in our world, like the hurricane, the floods, the storms. Sometimes they're man-made, but other times they're also very natural, that ends up taking people's life. So anything that is very violent, anything that just, a lot of the things that we encounter, even cancer, a lot of diseases, those things, we're still trying to find cure to those things, but those things they're definitely under abuse, because it's the abuse of power that the devil has. So when I'm talking about abuse, I'm actually talking about all the bad things that we experience in our world. It's not just limited to sexual abuse or verbal abuse. Abuse is all over our world. We see people dying every day. We see bad news. We watch bad news every day. Those things they're definitely tied to abuse. So it's not just limited to the family system. Anyone can be a victim of abuse. So the level, based on the level of abuse and that a person has experienced in this realm, they get a much higher authority. They get a more spiritual authority in the kingdom of darkness. So even though one can be an empath, which is the Christ Church, they go through a transition when they cross that dark part. Even though they have all these abilities to be able to heal, they have all these abilities to be able to sense other people. That's why your narcissist is able to sense your emotions. They're able to pick on the things that are going on in your life spiritually, and then use those things to manipulate you. So they still have that ability to be able to discern, and to be able to be leaders, to be able to be entrepreneurs, and world changes. The only difference is they would not do it to the glory of God. Those things will not be done to increase God's kingdom. It would only be to cause more abuse if they, especially if they don't, if we don't understand as the light in the middle of darkness, our identity in the spiritual realm, that we're supposed to be winning more souls for God, and we're supposed to be interceding with prayer. So based on the increase of the level of abuse one has experienced in that environment, either from our family system, either from the church, either from the government, because of the laws and the laws that the laws of the land, a lot of abuse. If we don't understand our role, if we don't understand our purpose, then we won't understand the purpose of all the laws in the world. And because we don't understand all the purpose of in the land, we get, a lot of times we get ourselves in troubles. A lot of us end up in the prison system. A lot of us end up end up as homeless wanderers. And I'll continue to talk about how we get to that point where Christ Church, or a light in the middle of the darkness, can be all of these things at the same time. Let me close this real quick. All right. So, having been in our family environment system, I already said that the kingdom of darkness is also known as the narcissist system, because of our parents' limited experience of life. So a lot of the things that they do is highly controlled. It's about power, a whole lot of power. It's about fear, and it's about control. And all those things are of the devil. Now, this kingdom of God, which is the kingdom of love, it functions by faith. So it doesn't matter what's going to happen, what's going on. You have faith that your kids are going to grow up to be good. You have faith that your husband is not going to cheat on you. You have faith. You function by faith. You don't function by fear when you're in this kingdom. However, when you're in this kingdom, which is the kingdom of darkness, a whole lot of the things that happen is that the people over there, the family system that are based on under that kingdom, it functions by fear. There's always something to be fearful about. So when that happens, a lot of times we, the empath, if we don't understand our identity, it's very easy to mimic other people's identity in our world, because we're a light. So we're supposed to be reflecting God's image. But if we don't have a relationship with God, then the only behavior we'll reflect is the behavior that we have observed in our environment, which is from our parents, which is the mirroring behavior. Someone does, which is the mirroring behavior. Like, and I made an example about Tarzan. Tarzan is an animated cartoon movie that speaks that illustrated the life of a young boy, a baby that was left in the forest with wild animals, and was later adopted by the gorillas, and he got trained by the gorillas. He didn't understand his identity, that he was different, but he felt like there was something missing, that he wasn't a perfect fit to living with animals. Later on, Tarzan got to actually meet other humans that came to explore the wide forest, and he realized that, okay, all this feeling that he's been having all this while, that he's been different, that he doesn't fit in, it's actually true. And it was very confused. It was like being caught in two words, where he wasn't sure whether or not he wanted to go with the humans that looked more like him, or he wanted to stay with the gorillas. Of course, it wasn't very easy to also adapt to the human behaviors, to adapt socially, and to be able to follow all the laws that humans have, because he's not used to that. It was never trained like that. It was never trained like that. So all of the behavior Tarzan pretty much displayed to the other humans that he saw were gorilla kind of behaviors. So a lot of times when the empaths going out into the world, they display the same narcissist behavior that they've grown, that they've known in their world, not understanding that they're actually different. So when they get into the world, the society rejection to the empath behaving like a narcissist is definitely not acceptable. It's rejected. It's shunned. It's very it drives the empath. It drives the empath into social isolation, into social isolation. In our word, we say, we have to be assertive with a narcissist. You have to say it like you mean it. You have to be good. Just you have to be this way or that way to narcissist. I can tell you what, because I've been through this phase before, and actually, I can tell you, even a few months, I was probably stuck. I was at this stage because I had to go through this stage. I have to experience something before I can teach you what it's about. So it was necessary for me to have gone through that stage. And I can tell you, being assertive actually doesn't work with a narcissist. I will say it again. Being not like a lot of people think having to shout or having to just hit the nail on the head to talk to the narcissist will work, but that's not actually, it doesn't work, because when I was in this stage, I didn't find it really necessary for that to happen. Like, you can just say whatever it is that you want to say, because I don't know, and I don't know, maybe that's the way it is for everybody, but when I was in my narcissist phase, being assertive doesn't actually work at all, because what it does is it shuns the narcissist back into social isolation, and social isolation is not a good thing for the empath. It's not a good thing when someone is isolated, when they feel like they can't be a part of the world, because they already feel like they don't fit in their family systems. We already feel like we don't fit into our family systems, and when we get into the world, we encounter a lot of confusion as to why people treat us a certain way when we're only trying to just be nice. But people don't take that as being nice, because the behaviors that are exhibited are not acceptable. They're not acceptable in the society. Not keeping to rules, not keeping to laws, not having boundaries, and a lot of people in the world definitely have boundaries, but we don't learn a whole lot of this in our family system. So a lot of this pretty much affect us when we invade other people's privacy, and we're shut into social isolation. And social isolation, pretty much, that's when the devil comes in, and it gives us a lot of suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations when we're left alone like that. We're forced to, it's like, there's a saying that says the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So the devil definitely has that time to come and minister with his bad and fearful thoughts into our life, that will never be anything, this is not going to happen, and there are lots and lots of fear that goes on when an empath, which is the light or Christ Church, gets stuck in social isolation. That's why a lot of people never actually make it to finding out God's plan for their life or God's purpose for their life, because it's going to be drawing us out of the dark into the marvelous light. And for certain people, like if you have a discerning spirit, or you have a discerning gift, or you're a prophet, because God says they're going to be sending prophets into the world. Of course, prophets are going to be coming from a family system, and prophets will have to go through something called a prophetic ascent. A prophetic ascent, where they have to go through a spiritual journey with God. And when they go through a spiritual journey with God, a lot of us will have to go through this phase. We have to go through this phase. It's necessary for the work that God has predetermined for us to go to experience these things, because we will know how to minister to these ones better when we go through this phase. Especially, a lot of prophets actually are right here. Some of us are stuck in this stage. Some of us never make it out of this stage as prophets. But the thing is, when the Christ Church is left in this environment, when the child is left in this, well, they may not be children at this stage, but they may exhibit a lot of behaviors that the society see as sociopathic behaviors. Because when you've gone through a lot of abuse right here in the family system, you've gone through a lot of abuse outside in the world. Someone, a guy, you date a guy, and the guy dumps you and gets engaged to another man, to another woman, or somebody abuse you, and you've gone through the point of abuse over abuse. What a lot of times what we start to think is, oh, you know what? I don't like men anymore. I just want to stab every man. And those type of thoughts are gotten from the media, because that's the world that we've known. The devil has his own media, he has his own entertainment, that when we see all those things in TV where someone eats you, and we're supposed to pay evil for evil, or an eye for an eye. Someone dumps someone dumps you, then you date somebody else and play games with them, and you dump them too because you're heartbroken. So hurt people hurt others, and broken people break others to become broken, just like themselves. So the media teaches us a whole lot of these things, that it's okay for us to be that way. And when we get to a point where we've gone through a lot of abuse in our life, it's gotten to the point where, those thoughts that we've watched, and those things that we've read in books, and those things that that has been registered in our mind, becomes very easy for us to do. That's why it's so easy when you see someone just kill another person, someone commits murder, and they just kill another person, and they don't even feel any remorse. Now that's a bit more of psychopathic behavior, when someone actually kills somebody else, kills somebody. But before it gets to that point, we exhibit a little bit of sociopathic behaviors, which is like, do like having sex with a whole lot of people because someone dumped you, or feeling like you need to stab someone, or feeling like you need to, or like somebody got HIV. Yeah, this is very common. Someone was a guy infected you with HIV, so you feel like you, at this point, you don't know what to do with your life anymore, and you feel like, okay, you know what, if that guy could be heartless to infect you with HIV, then you're going to go around sleeping with a lot of other people, and you're going to infect those people with HIV too. That's more sociopath behavior, because you're doing it because someone has hurt you, and you feel like the world needs to understand that you've been hurt. So it's a bit more of psychopathic behavior, but it stems from sociopathy, really, because the thought has been there. So it kind of escalates from, okay, you're sleeping with a lot of men, to, okay, you now get HIV, and then finally you have to spread the HIV to everybody, then because you have anger towards the world. So having been abused from right here, maybe you've been a good person from right here, you didn't care, okay, I'm going to go over it, it's going to be okay, life, things happen in life, and then you get here into the world, right? You get shunned by the world. Like, we don't like narcissists. The world hates narcissists. Nobody likes to be around narcissists, because you're exhibiting the behaviors that you've seen in your environment. And then you get stuck in social isolation. When you get stuck in the social isolation, the devil comes and visits you and gives you a whole lot of thoughts in your head, and you get to, okay, let me sleep with a whole lot of men. And then when you get to let me sleep with a whole lot of men, then things happen that continues to escalate, where you actually start to hold anger, not against the abuser right here. The anger from the abuser is not just one person anymore. At this point, it has turned to, okay, you know what, I have anger towards the world. I hate the world, and I'm going to let the world understand that they've hurt me. And the only way that a church, a Christ church, or a light, or an empire can come up with the conclusion that the word has hurt them is because the word is because of the reaction of the world against the narcissist personality traits. Honestly, I really feel like the world could do better when we start to understand how narcissists actually became narcissists, because we can actually prevent a lot of damage that because when we do that, when we shun these ones into social isolation, they don't become a danger to just one person. They become a danger to themselves and to the world. That's why you see people like Boko Haram killing people, kidnapping girls. You see people like Adolf Hitler. He was a leader, he had that leader thing. It is, they say psychopaths rule our world, and it's so true, because this people, we the empaths and the light in the church, it's a part of our nature to be leaders and entrepreneurs and world changers. The thing is, the reaction that is gotten when we step into the world with this that we've learned from our family system, it forces us into social isolation, which allows the devil to minister those bad and negative thoughts that we've watched from here, that we've read from here, or we've seen we've seen it happen. It makes it easier for that to happen. Remember, I already said, if we don't understand our identity and if we don't understand who we are, then it's easy for the devil to use us for his own agendas, So it's very easy. You see people just killing themselves and they wouldn't have any remorse. They'll actually be happy. There's a story about a girl that I watched on documentary that she had been raped by so many men in the past, and at the point she felt like she was necessary for her to take the law into her hands, to start allowing men into her home, and every time they would sleep with her, she would actually kill them and shoot them, and she killed a lot of people by doing so. Now to her, it's justified. To her, because she's been abused while she was in the family system, and she goes out into the world, she continues to experience the same abuse, and for her it's justified. A lot of people that get here, they're in the prison system right now. A lot of people that are right here that actually display that behavior, they are in the prison system right now because they are considered a threat to the society. They're not supposed to be in the society. They're supposed to be locked up in jail. But the thing is, when a lot of these people, the prisoners, when they actually tell you their stories and what they've been through and what has happened to them, they feel justified. It makes so much sense. Why? Oh my God, there's no way you would have gone through a whole lot of abuse that way and you wouldn't be psychotic. Like, there's just no way possible that will happen, that you're expected to be normal after a whole lot of abuse. But God is so amazing. God is so amazing. God is so amazing. A lot of us, when we get here into the world, when we got called out into the world, because whether we like it or not, we're going to be called out because we're Christ Church. And the way Christ Church has been building his church is we have to go through all of these phases. Unfortunately, that's what God does, and that's why it plants us as a seed in the middle of this environment. It's an investment, hoping that maybe something will happen. And with investment, there are risks that sometimes it could work and sometimes it could not work. So a lot of us sometimes don't actually get to make it through it and make it out after experiencing a whole lot of abuse in the family system. But when we get here, sometimes in the world, God already knows that our hearts might have already been hardened. And when our hearts are hardened, like it was saying to his disciples, that the heart is so hardened, they will look and they won't be able to perceive, and they would listen and they won't be able to hear my voice because their heart is hardened towards me. When we go through a lot of abuse in this family system, sometimes we take a lot of anger towards God. That why would God put us in that environment and allow those things to happen to us, and allow us to lose our own home, and allow really bad trials to continue to happen to us? Like, God must not be real. But when we get out into the world, God tries to get our attention. He really tries to get our attention. It breaks us. So when we get into the world and we start to feel like we have to pretend like everything is okay. We're hiding our true self behind a mask. So we are trying to protect ourselves and guard our heart. And we're pretending to be happy when we're not really happy. It breaks us because he understands what we're going through, that we're going through a lot of pain, and it breaks us so we can cry. So we can cry and we can make that confession to him and say, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son so we can have eternal life. When we make that confession right here, stepping out into the world, into the real world, really, like you go to work, and a lot of people, you just feel like every time you leave work, you're so drained out, you're so tired. It's just really terrible. You're not really having a great time at work because because that's your first time being exposed to the real word. Christ expects us to call on him right here when we start to go experience a lot of awful treatment when we step out into the world. He expects us to call on him, because when we call on him, what that does is Christ is with us all through the moment. It takes us through that part. And sometimes we may not even need to go through all through this part when we make that confession, based on the type of based on what you've been purposed for in life. Based on your purpose, you may not need to go all through all this. You may not need to go through all of it. When you make that confession, you get directed straight into the kingdom of God. You have access into the kingdom of God. So I said, you may not have to go through all this based on your purpose, because some people are not purposed to go through it. Because when you're not purposed to go through it, then a lot of us get stuck right here when we refuse to acknowledge God, to call on Christ to help us with all the things that we're going to be going through when we're going through this place. Because as we continue to experience abuse, right? As we continue to experience abuse, we start to lose our senses. There becomes a decrease in our level of consciousness. So we're not so conscious to our world anymore. We're not so conscious to our physical world anymore. We're more aware of our spiritual world than we are aware of our physical world. So because of that lack of awareness, it's very easy for the devil to come into our minds and start messing up things, and start giving us thoughts, and start doing things, and start saying all those really nasty things to us that don't really make any sense. But because we've lost our level of consciousness, and our level of perception in the world also decreases, it's like literally our highs shuts up. Our highs actually shuts out. I made a video about the anatomy of empath. Make sure that you listen to that video before actually watching this video, because it would make sense to you a lot of the things that I'm saying. So when we have that level of our level of consciousness decreases, we're not able to process information anymore. So it's easy when someone tells you, you know what, go kill that person. It's easy to go do it, to kill another person, because we've lost our ability to be able to process information, to say, oh my God, no, that's not who I am. I'm an empath. I'm supposed to be sympathetic with people's behaviors, and to be sympathetic, to have a heart of Christ. I'm not supposed to do that. But when we've lost our ability to process information, we can't discern whether that's us or that's not us, because at that point the devil has already gotten a full control of our mind for us to easily take a gun and kill somebody else, or for us to start sleeping around, or start doing things that will be dangerous to our own health. And honestly, at that point, when you're asked why you're doing it, it's justified. It's justified. Like, what else am I supposed to do in life? Because all that you've experienced in your life has been abuse. But there are other things that you could experience with God. Because when you make that confession, when you make that confession, God gives you a plan, and He gives you a purpose, and then He reveals your spiritual identity to you. If you've heard all the genius in the world, the leaders in the world, the great leaders in the world, and you ask them question, every one of them keep emphasizing on the word purpose. Like, that's all. Do you know your purpose? Do you know your life purpose? Do you know who you are? That's what they always say. There's about life purpose. Because if you don't understand your life purpose, and you don't understand why God created you, it'll be so easy for you to take the idea that, okay, suicide is the option, when all you're really needing in your life is just salvation. You just need Christ to save you. And that's what Christ gives. When we make that confession, it gives us salvation, and then it starts to renew our mind. It starts to change us. It starts to change our behavior. A lot of times when we get, okay, so let's say we pass this stage, and we actually don't do anything. We're still kind of like, okay, I hate the world, but I don't hate the world enough to kill someone. I don't hate the world enough to hurt another person. The devil would increase and bump that level up. Remember, I said the higher the level of abuse, the higher the spiritual rank in the realm. The higher the rank, so you get more authority. You get more authority in that realm. You see, a lot of leaders in this realm, like Adolf Hitler, actually killed a lot of people. And it wasn't him that did it. He had people to control. He had authority over people, and he could tell certain people to go kill people, and they would do it because he had that authority to be able to be able to do that. You have you even have some spiritual leaders and some religious leaders in this stage that their churches function as a cult system. You know, there was this guy that gave Kool-Aid to his church members, and he would force them with a gun pointed on their head to drink Kool-Aid, and that was supposed to be holy water or something like that, and these people just kept dying. So at this point, it could use anybody. Yes, you're supposed to be Christ Church, so it could use anything. The devil can use anything. It will tell you a whole lot of things that will actually make sense to you, because you're natural. It's natural for you to lead, whether lead a church system, whether lead a country, whether lead a home. It's natural for you to be a leader because you're born to be one, or you're created to be one. So you will use those things to it will use that authority that is acquired in that kingdom to kill and to abuse, to cause abuse on a lot of other people that shouldn't be abused. And that's how the devil works. So the spiritual authority, if you refuse to not do all of those things in this stage, it bumps up that rank. And then this is the post-traumatic stress disorder, where we see some people that they've been in war before, they're veterans, they've killed people because of their profession. They've had to kill people to survive, because if you don't kill someone when you go to war, then someone will kill you. And a lot of people, it's justified when that happens. That, okay, you're serving your country, you're protecting a whole lot of people, and because you're protecting a whole lot of people, you have to put your own life on the line. And a lot of people, when they go back to their family system, they can't function in that family system anymore because they have post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's like the seed, this is like a seed planted in your head, where the devil pulls out the experience of the abuse that has happened to you. You know, so maybe you were abused right here in the family system when you were young, and you've thought to yourself, you've forgotten it, you've moved on with life. You're going on with life. You have a job, you have everything, and all of a sudden you give your life to God, and you start to remember all those things that you thought you had forgotten. Like, it's all dead issues, but the devil brings it up from where it has been hiding in your subconscious mind, and it brings it up to remind you, and it refreshes your memory of that incident, and it's like you're going through that pain all over again. It's like it's happening all over again. And then you start to have a lot of anger outbursts. You start to be angry. You start to have, what he's really trying to do at this stage is he's trying to make your heart so hardened to the point where it will tell you to do whatever he's asking you to do. A lot of people still at this stage don't do it. That's why we're Christ Church. A lot of people at this stage still would not do it. They will still not do it because that heart of Christ is there. Some people will do it, and some people will not do it. So because some people wouldn't do it, they will end up right here, being homeless wanderers. Because when you lose your mind, then the devil will say, okay, you know what? You don't want to do anything. You don't want to end up in prison for the rest of your life. Well, this is what I'm going to just end up doing to you. I'm just going to tell you some lies right here. I'm going to tell you, okay, you want God to save you? I know you want God to save you, and I know whatever it is that you're doing, you are doing it for God. Okay, what I'm going to tell you is you're going to start sleeping on the streets, because the only way that you can get saved is through work. So you have to sleep on the street. If you keep doing this because you love your family. Because you love your family, right? You don't want to hurt your family. Your family they don't want you around. you don't have to be angry at your family every time they don't want you around, then it's better for you to just start sleeping on the street. Yeah, it doesn't even matter if you have a job, because you know what? God will actually honor you. God will glorify you. God will bump up your rank. God will save you and your family if you decide to start sleeping on the street. Hey, you know that cross that the Bible was saying in the book of Matthew, that everybody will have to carry their own crosses? Well, this is what you have to do. You have to kind of be homeless for a little while, and then yeah, don't leave until I tell you to leave. Don't leave until I tell you to leave, because you know what? You're after all, you're doing it for your family. You love your family, right? Yes. And even if your family, if they're calling you to come back home, you're like, no, I don't want to come back home because you don't understand what I'm doing. It's because I love you guys. It's because I love you guys. And if I keep doing this, then everybody's going to get saved. Well, I'm telling you, that's a lie. All those things are lies that the devil will give to you when you get to this stage of your